Hello, my name is Steve D'Agostino, and my co-host Ann Fernald and I welcome you to a special video episode of the Twice Over podcast, because to teach is to learn twice over. The Instructor Spotlight video series aims to highlight instructors who have experienced success in teaching online in an effort to inspire others and to provide reassurance that we can do this. In our first video, we welcome Stephanie Ann Puen, a graduate student at Fordham University who teaches theology online.
My name is Stephanie Ann Puen. I am a teaching fellow and a PhD student in the theology department. I teach Theo 1000, Faith and Critical Reason, which is the introductory course for undergraduate.
Hi everyone, welcome to Theo 1000, Faith and Critical Reason. My name is Stephanie Ann Puen and I will be your professor for this course. For this video, I wanted to do two things. The first would be to talk briefly about the course. I will talk more about it when we discuss the syllabus, but just to give you a very broad overview of what we will be doing. And then the second thing that I wanted to do was to introduce myself, especially since we will be having a lot of conversations, a lot of discussions about cases. So I thought it'd be good to actually let you know who I am, and hopefully I would also like to later on get to know about you all and who you are. So first, in terms of the course, we're talking about theology. We will be having a class on theology. So we will be talking about terms such as faith, religion, spirituality. What does it mean when a person says that they believe in the Bible, right? What does it mean when a person says they believe in Allah? Okay, so we will be talking about these things, especially when it comes to belief in the transcendent, understanding particular values, understanding where certain understandings, ideas of the human person or ideas of society come from, or even certain ideas of God. But at the same time, we will be talking about concrete ethical issues. Okay, how do these faith communities, how do these religions translate these principles that they believe in into practices? Right, into practices, into actions, into how they make decisions in business, in economics, okay, or in their work, in their vocation, in basically in their decisions in life, right? So how does this now manifest itself in concrete situations? Right? So we will be talking a lot about the theory, so to speak, the principles behind faith communities and religions, but at the same time, how that now works, right, in the so-called real world. So we will be looking into all of that in certain specific topics when we look into the syllabus later on. So the second thing that I wanted to do was to introduce myself. So as I said a while ago, my name is Stephanie Ann Puen. I am from the Philippines. I am particularly interested in business ethics and economics and ethics because of my background. So I used to work in corporate planning for a manufacturing company in the Philippines. So we used to do mergers and acquisitions and financial analysis for the international markets. So that was my world before. Then I got into theology, which is a long story, but suffice to say, that's why I'm really interested in business ethics and economics and ethics. So how does Catholic theology relate to that, respond to that? What do they have to say about economic issues such as wages, labor, healthcare even? Okay, so that's more of what I'm interested in. My secondary area is in popular culture and theology, which is another thing. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm a big K-pop fan. So sometimes I will find a way to bring that into my theology as well. So there will be a part in this orientation or in this module where I will ask you to introduce yourselves. So hopefully you can also brief.
I really wanted to be a little bit informal, but still professional, welcoming them to the class, heading off some of the questions that they might have, trying to answer those kinds of frequently asked questions, so to speak. It's really important to me to consider where the student is coming from and since I knew that, okay, they were working students, they have all these other things. I really wanted to give them all the tools that they needed in order to have a successful semester. I really wanted to emphasize the learning objectives. I want to make sure that for the students, they know why we're doing these things, that we're not just doing these things for the sake of doing it, that there is a point. And it also reminds me, like, okay, so among the objectives of this course, that this is how I am actually hitting those objectives. So it's a good reminder for me as well. And then, of course, it also helps me like explain to the students, well, this is why we're tackling this topic. A lot of the things that I was pulling on was from Bloom's taxonomy for the verbs that I wanted them to do, listening also to my department for what objectives or what they want us to actually do for the class. So I think I really wanted to start with, okay, these are the objectives that my department wants us to do. What do I need them to do in order to get there? That's how I was kind of just thinking through, like, okay, these are the activities that would help them reach that. What would help them think about theology in relation to the public sphere? Well, let them think about case studies. So I was kind of trying to think about that and then putting what they were doing into words, into those learning objectives. It was clear to them what was expected of them. Whenever I would get work back, they understood, like, okay, this was what I was expecting. And then when I would make comments, it made it easier for them to understand. I could also refer back to the learning objectives, to the syllabus. So it kind of streamlined like communication. It helped me also get to know their voices. So again, it also helps with the interaction to kind of know, like, oh, okay, so this is so-and-so student. And it also helps them in terms of confidence boosting. It's like class discussion, but at least it kind of helps them like think and again also listen to each other so that they also know each other. It was really helpful for the building community, definitely. It's not like in the classroom where they're like put on the spot and then they have to answer immediately. So at least gives them time and they're a bit more confident when they speak or when they record their thought. It gives them time to kind of build each other's thoughts. I actually had a lot of students who would be like, oh yeah, building on what so-and-so said. That was actually a very good thing about the use of VoiceThread. My first reading for this course was actually about how theology can help build empathy, because you begin to understand inner motivations, beliefs, religious ideas, and so on. So I'm also hoping through VoiceThread to help students model that. I myself model that, but also for students to, oh, so this is how theology can build empathy as well. Just trying to also get them to listen to each other and actually like, oh, okay, that's where they're coming from. This is where these ideas are coming from. How is it now in play throughout this discussion? In the classroom, you're very aware that everyone is just looking at you versus the asynchronous VoiceThread where you kind of have like time to think, time to write down. So it takes a little away from that anxiety. Don't panic. I think the temptation is to make everything great, like use all the tools, use all of the things available. But I would also say like one of the things that I think worked well for me as well was the simplicity of what I asked my students to do. So it was clear, it was straightforward. Less logins to less apps and programs, the better. To not be tempted to use everything, but really just pick and choose which ones would really be helpful towards your learning objectives. I actually just got my evaluations. Some of them were saying they didn't feel like they missed out on anything. It also struck me as pleasantly surprising that there were students who thought like, yeah, like I learned as if I was in a normal classroom.
The Instructor Spotlight video series will continue throughout the following months as we prepare for the fall. Learning will be easier if we can learn from each other. Thanks very much for watching.